Yes, wonderful. So, seeing as we're in auditorium, I thought let's make use of the space. Let's play you a short little video. Sorry, it's not Barbie or Pixar or anything. Short little video talking about some of the work we're doing in this space, and then I'll talk a bit more in depth and bring a colleague on stage, Gokberk, to talk a bit more about one of the other projects we're doing with open source and AI.
Afraid to let artificial intelligence loose on your customers? You're right to be. Untamed AI could do real damage to your brand. But what if you could rein it in? Untrained and unrestrained, a bot powered by generative AI could wreak all kinds of havoc, recommending your competitors and breaking laws and regulations. And that's just for starters. But what if you could constrain the chatbot and control its conversations with your customers? What if the bot could interact naturally with customers and draw data from your systems in real time, helping build a better understanding of your customers' needs? And what if you could de-risk the interactions through safeguards that guide the bot's responses to comply with policies and regulations? Well, you can. We delivered a successful proof of concept for a major retail bank, developing a chatbot that safely interacts with customers while it gathers the insights needed to recommend suitable products and services. And we can help you do the same. Find out more and get in touch with us at scottlogic.com/AI.
So what that sort of nice animated video talks about at a high level is how we've taken generative AI technologies and paired them with other technologies. We've got a number of blogs, and there's the white paper that's available this evening as well from us, talking about the R&D that we're doing, and we've been doing this for many years before ChatGPT hit the headlines. And so this project, actually, that piece of work kicked off way before this all became very much on vogue and exciting. Gave us extra drive to kind of do more with the project. But crucially, what we've done is we've paired these large language models with other technologies like graph databases. We're exploring vector databases. In a minute, Gok's going to talk about LangChain and other things that we're using. And I think what's crucial is not to just assume that large language models are this silver bullet that can just solve any problem that's thrown their way. I think Declan also talked about something you've done with integrating it with NatWest datasets to provide information. I think it's how we integrate these technologies into our architectures and into our strategy that's going to be really, really important going forward. So we're doing a lot of thinking on this space. We've got more coming on our blog. We're doing a lot of R&D projects. Gok and myself will be there's a banner out in the networking area, so do come and grab us and have a chat with us about your thoughts on some of this stuff. But as Declan said, it's an exciting time to be in technology. I think genuinely the game is changing. And with that, I want to invite Gok up on stage. So Gok's going to talk a little bit about a project that we've been running internally. We give it a cute name called ScottBot. And here's a QR code if you want to, rather than just put the URL in, you can scan that. Gok has been working on with myself and some others on an internal chatbot. Without further ado, I will hand over to you, Gok.
Thanks, Ollie. I'm Gok. I'm a developer and a researcher, I guess, in Scott Logic. Ollie mentioned that we're working on this internal chatbot. I think we can start the video now as well, at the same time. So this is an internal chatbot, and we gave the capabilities of using different types of tools or functionalities, we can say. And this is a working example in locally using all open source technology. On the right-hand side, you will see that we're using LangChain, which is an open source abstraction over large language models. In this case, we're using OpenAI, but we can plug in other large language models as well. So the conversation started with saying that, I am capable of using these tools, and I'm also collecting data for training me better to make it better. And let's assume that the user gets skeptical a bit and say that, I'm not sure about that privacy stuff. And I want to talk about state here. So user stated something, and actually we see that that affected the bot. And when the user asks something like a random question, camping in the wild in UK, we dispatch DuckDuckGo instead of Google because of the privacy. No offense to Google, this is just an example in this regard. But we want to show that there's a state, and this state is fluid. Compared to what Ollie mentioned previously about graph databases is more regulated. In here, all the state is structured inside the conversation history. With the new context length in the large language models, this is enabled to us easily. Of course, there are downsides of it as well. We can chat this afterwards. So, and the next question from the user coming from is about internal resources, Scott Logic BitLocker policy. This information is not available to public. It's a private information, lives in somewhere private, so it's not going to be available to anywhere. But using another open source technology, ChromaDB, which is like a vector DB using AI embeddings, we can fetch information from our resources with the appropriate sources. So the user got a response saying that, oh, here's the resource, and this is where I'm getting this information from. This is very important about the verifiability of it, because these large language models can give you different results. We're giving user to check the results if it's, can verify, user can go verify. And we say, thanks, okay, let's go. I mentioned previously about state, and the user actually having a second thought say that, do you remember what I told you about the privacy stuff? I changed my mind. I'm okay with Google now. And the bot is acknowledging, says, gotcha, basically. And we ask the bot, the user actually asked the bot saying that, oh, can we do the first search again? And I'm emphasizing on the state again, saying that without mentioning what it is, we can directly understand, and here we will see that this time Google search is invoked with the wild camping in the UK, which was the earlier question. So we have this capability to jump from context to context thanks to the powerful power of the large language models. So right afterwards, this is another simple natural language processing example, I guess. Like the user is asking, oh, find me the national parks near me. And I'm in here, by the way. So we could put this, I'm saying that, we are saying that here that we are in Bristol, but we could plug this information way in the beginning as well. And the bot will be able to understand that you're actually searching the national parks near Bristol. So this is actually, again, demonstrating the capability. And we got 8 responses from Google, and they're all, okay, we can check the links to see if they're actually what they are, basically. And lastly, in this demo, we're saying that, okay, let's take this to and plug into Wikipedia. When large LangChain ecosystems start popping out first place, giving out multiple inputs or using multiple tools or chaining them or consecutively in parallel was a challenging task. But now with the new recent developments, it's getting much simpler or much straightforward to use. And in this example, we can see that we can invoke, if we invoke the Wikipedia tool twice with 2 different inputs, and we will get the aggregated results. And you can always see the link to verify the results. That's one thing. Hopefully the user is happy in that regard. And this will be the end of the demo. For closing thoughts, so in this demo, we demonstrated that we used some simple tools. We didn't want to expose any private data, so some of the tools are basically just created for this demo. Internally, we use some tooling such as like Salesforce to create queries on the fly by using open API specifications and such. But in this demo, we didn't use any private data. I think in that regard, that concludes my demo. I think we can take one question or something.
Yeah, take some questions. I mean, before we do, one of the things I should say is that this has been an R&D project just internally that we've been playing around with, but we're actually now in the phases of rolling this out. So we're doing an alpha test of this. We're sorting out some security pieces. We're getting some of the risk and compliance pieces sort of sorted out. But then we're going to make this available internally as a way of making not just ChatGPT type functionality available to people, but also pulling on other information sources in our organization. So one of the first things we've done is hook it up to Teams. So there's like a Teams bot kind of connector available here. And so yeah, effectively what we're trying to do is to start with make this a kind of information resource, but we've got quite grand plans for it. So through LangChain, we want to start allowing people to kind of complete their timesheets and complete expense reports and things like that through this tool, so it can help accelerate common admin tasks and things like that. So yeah, with that, I just wanted to kind of give you a flavour of where we're at. So in the next couple of weeks, we will be going into a beta test with the whole of the Scott Logic, so 500 people across the UK. So it'll be fun to see quite what comes out of that. I think we've got a question here at the front. Thank you, James.
Just wait. Thank you. Just wondering if you can say anything about the size of the model or number of parameters, and if you're benchmarking, like in which location does the model...
In this demo, we since the data was almost public and we use no sensitive data over here, we're using OpenAI's GPT 3.5 model, which was like 80 billion parameters or something. but we can also run this on GPT-4, which is a much larger model. But I get your point about like, okay, this is running on a commercial model, it's not open, but I mentioned about the LangChain open source system. So in this demo, we were using OpenAI's model, but thanks to that capability of LangChain, we can plug one model and we can just put another model, and hopefully everything will work. Maybe some accuracy degradation or some stuff. We actually experimented, and actually there is another team in ScottLogic working on creating our own, fine-tuned our models using open source models. And I'm sure you're aware that like Llama 2 came out with the permissive live sensing. We are currently experimenting on that. But in this example, we were using OpenAI.
Yeah, and I think the open source models, which we'll talk about in the panel shortly, have evolved rapidly. I think when we started on this project, so we've been doing this, 8-9 months, this project, I think. Maybe getting on for that. I mean, when we first started, it was really OpenAI models that were the ones that were available. But yeah, we have a number of projects going on. In fact, there's another team looking at building, generating charts from a data set and a question. Like, I've got a data set here, what do you recommend in terms of a chart? So we're giving that sort of high-level problem. And again, we've evaluated various different sort of LLMs on the market and using LangChain as the glue over the top. So it's interesting sort of where open source can sit on top of commercial models, and also where there's perhaps a full end-to-end open source ecosystem that you can explore as well. But I think that's moving really, really rapidly. So another one over here, yeah.
Thanks for the presentation. Really cool looking tool. 2 questions. One, what's been your experience with LangChain? A lot of developers like to complain about it being a little bit.
Yeah, I can also complain about it. I think, I mean, when you look at the version number of LangChain, you will see what's going on, because it's version 0.0.200 or something, and you can see that the alpha levelness of LangChain, and overnight you wake up one day, whole API change, that sort of stuff. But I agree on point that it can be a sometimes burden to work with. Sometimes it's easier to just write your own wrapper to go on. But I think it's maturing slowly in a better shape right now. And I think, I mean, of course we won't be just like contributing on LangChain only, but I think right now it's a good place to start. Especially I mentioned about the pluggability of different models in our own model or other model. Let's say tomorrow we get the access to Anthropic, with 1 million token length, and that will be easily plugged as well. So,
I mean, one thing to add there is one of our most popular blogs recently was, I mentioned Colin earlier, he blogged about re-implementing LangChain in 100 lines of code. And I think it was one of our most viral blog posts we've had this year. So yeah, it's interesting quite how we can break things down into steps and use that open source software to do that. Gok, thank you very much. It's been great. Again.
Okay, I'll go. Thank you.